So it's got to be a quick video today. I signed up for my first ever personal training session. So I get to the gym yesterday and they're offering free body scans, and they convinced me to do a free body scan because why not? And sure enough, it's pretty fast and they teach you all about your skeletal mass and skeletal muscle mass and BMI and a bunch of other stuff. It's really in depth. And then she manages to convince me to do a free training session, which this particular girl, she's only been working there a few months. I don't know, she's probably in her mid 40s or something. And I'm kind of thinking like, I don't know what you have to teach me, you know? Not that I know it all, but you know, I was like a free training session. How could I turn that down, right? And one thing that I really need to work on is my cardio. Cardio, some calisthenics, stuff like that. And that's something that she might be able to teach me some. So, you know, I'm kind of a sucker. I agreed to do it. And that's here pretty soon, so I got to make it quick. But so I told her, I'm like, well, you know, I need to learn more about cardio. Let's do something there. And she's like, okay, let's do that. So I'm excited to see how it goes. I have no idea what it's going to be like. She says it's going to be like an hour, which to me, I'm like, I don't know if I can train with you for an hour. I barely know you, but it was free. So why not, you know? And at this gym, there's a lot of cool workers there. I know some of them too, so they tend to have pretty chill staff. So anywho, we'll see, you know, maybe we'll have another story time here after today. So I have something interesting to go over. My buddy sent me a post. I'm assuming it's on Twitter or something, I don't know. By this guy, Bryan Johnson, which I don't know much about him, but I know I have some friends that listen to him and like him. I think he's kind of one of the influencers of the day. He's really into like health and longevity and whatnot. I personally have never seen any of his content, like none of it at all, unless it's like a clip that somehow I accidentally stumbled upon from a YouTube video or a buddy showing me, but I really don't know anything about him. But he had a very interesting post. My buddy sent it to me today, and then we talked on the phone for a while. But I just flipped open the Bible before we get to that and opened Habakkuk. I want to say it's Habakkuk. This is the message that the prophet Habakkuk received in a vision. How long, O Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Violence is everywhere, I cry, but you do not come to save. Must I forever see these evil deeds? Why must I watch all this misery? Wherever I look, I see destruction and violence. I am surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. The law has become paralyzed. Man, isn't that fitting? The law has become paralyzed. It's not doing anything anymore. And there is no justice in the courts. The wicked far outnumber the righteous, so that justice has become perverted. So even people in Bible times that were talking with God, right? Prophets and whatnot. There were times where everywhere they looked, there was injustice, there was perversion, there were evil deeds, there was corruption, there was just bad things, right? So just because we look in our society and we look around and everyone around us and it's just so depressing, right? That doesn't mean God's not there. And then if you read further, the next part of that chapter, God replies to him, and it's just kind of back and forth conversation, right? So, yeah, it's not evidence that God's not with you. It's not evidence that God isn't answering your prayers because you're going through a desperate time, like Job, maybe. He's very much still there. And he doesn't work like that. He doesn't take all the pain away. He doesn't keep you from experiencing life, because life is struggle. Life is tough. So don't lose hope just because there's a lot of good reasons to lose hope, right? So anyways, let me briefly read through this. I got my laptop here. It's pretty long. I probably won't read all of it, but so he starts off This is Bryan Johnson, I want to say his name is. Yeah, I think it's Bryan Johnson. Men, 2026 is the time to get our shit together. The modern world has made human slop of us. Fertility rates are down 62%. Metabolic disease affects 35%. Obesity has hit 40%. 63 are not having sex weekly. Testosterone is dropping 1% every year. 42% over 40 have erectile dysfunction. Sexlessness has doubled to 24%. Enough. Fucking enough. Then he goes on to say, reject fast food, junk food, vaping, gambling, porn, nicotine, sleep deprivation, phone addiction, excessive scrolling. They are mining for profit, leaving you weak and miserable. They are predators. You are the prey. Da da da. Don't listen to other people's, I'm skipping parts. Don't listen to other people's criticisms. They're projecting their own stuff onto you. Straighten up. Let it roll off of you. Be great. Be unabashedly you. Maintain friendships with those who make you better. See, I've talked about this before. I feel like that was a lot of my earlier videos, was talking about how important it is for guys to have other men in their life, right? How important that is. And he recognizes that. I think I like this guy. Who inspires you to be, he's talking about friendships with those who make you better, who inspires you to be your best self. Do not continue to hang out with people who encourage debauchery. Maintain good posture, stand tall. Do things to reclaim your self-respect, be a sovereign person. Da da da. So, I don't know, I think overall this message is good. I like in the beginning that he recognizes a lot of the problems that are going on today. He recognizes an enemy, right? He says they are predators, you are the prey. He's talking about the people running, he talks about your phone addictions and scrolling, so people that run social media, TikTok, Instagram, all those things. He's talking about the fast food people, the people that made this pastry that I'm eating right now before I go to the gym. Did I read that part? He says sleep, get jacked, eat well, set limits. Replace your inner weakness with systems of strength. So, I think his message is overall really good. One beef I had with it a little bit is in the first paragraph. He recognizes stuff going on, right? The sexlessness in society, or at least a large number of guys. The birth rate, fertility rate going down. I think his main goal here is actually health stuff. My understanding is that he sells like supplements and his own like meal plans. So, as great as this message is, part of it is probably to get more clients, to get more money. That's often the motivation for a lot of stuff, right? But it's still all true, right? It's still all true. So I feel like his main focus isn't the health, the main focus is the health, but he recognizes problems that men are dealing with today. Self-inflicted ones, but as well as, the sexlessness and the fertility rate and the birth rates all are tied. I would not say too directly to health, though that may be part of it. I think that's tied directly to the problems that we deal with today in regards to relationships. People not getting married or getting married later in life, not marrying young, not having so many kids, just not dating. Divorce rates are ridiculous. It's kind of like, yeah. So, I guess my first initial beef with it is, and if you're trying to sell product, then this is a great idea. This is a great way to do it. I don't think He's really trying to address all of these problems at once. I think he's just trying to kind of get a good word out, and I think he did a good job there. But it's kind of recognizing one part of the problem. Well, it's recognizing the problem and it's proposing the rest of the post. The solution is that you need to get your shit together. You need to get everything together. It's kind of all on you. And there's a problem there because if we're talking about the health stuff, yes. And I feel like that is the main focus. So my point is not to hound on this guy. I think it's a great post. But if we're talking about fertility rates and birth rates and the sexlessness and stuff like that, that's not necessarily up to the man, right? That is, it takes two people. It takes a guy and a girl to do that, to have kids and to have sex, right? So it would stand to reason that you need to address both people. And now he's here just to address the men. But I don't think that this is a new message or it's like this novel idea, because the manosphere has been around for a while. You know, guys like Joe Rogan and Andrew Tate and just this self-improvement mindset, David Goggins, right? Guys that I listened to a lot and got me on my journey a bit, helped me to turn my life around, somewhat. Or at least they influenced me a little bit, right? So this isn't a new message. There's a lot of guys that have been listening to this message and have been applying it to their lives for a while now, right? And I think we're facing this, where, everything's gone to shit. And so people are trying to rush to find influencers and maybe even like preachers and people in politics are rushing to find fixes to it. They're rushing to address the problem because they know that people will turn on them if these people completely ignore it. Because now you can't ignore it. So they're like, well, I need to have a take. And it seems that a lot of these guys are coming out, and maybe him partially, not entirely though, I know his aim is health stuff, but a lot of these guys, a lot of influencers, a lot of pastors, a lot of whoever, they seem to think that they have this novel idea that they need to call men to arms and that men need to step up and they need to write a book about the disciplines of a godly man, or they need to address the men and encourage them to go to the gym and read more books and stop smoking cigars or vaping, right? But I feel like that message is going to fall on deaf ears. I feel like that message has been talked about for years by guys like Andrew Tate and whoever. And a lot of the guys that want to do it have already been doing it. That want to self-improve. Excuse me. So yeah, my fear is that a lot of people are going to take this similar approach. They're going to say, here's the stuff that is going on. And of course I'm going to be happy because it's like, okay, finally you're not ignoring it. What is very obvious, and it's been obvious for a while. But but your solution, the prescription, is wrong. It's assuming it's all on the men. When in reality, and I've talked about it before, there's been a huge shift in the average woman, the way she behaves, the way she looks, the way she acts. Huge shift. Think about a woman in the 50s than a woman today. Everything about them is different. The way they talk, the words they use, the language they use, the amount of piercings on their body and tattoos on their body, the way they behave. Everything is different. How many bodies they have on average. I mean, the modern woman, the average woman today, is not even close or remotely similar to a woman from the 1950s, right? And it's been a planned effort, right? There's been a lot of movements in society to change the situation for women. They're often masked, and they say, oh, we're trying to free women. We're trying to liberate women. They're oppressed. We need to free them. They've had different facades, political ones, feminist ones, church ones, Christian ones, but the end result has been largely the same. Things did change. They got the results they wanted. Women are very different now. Their situations, their values, their goals, just to their being are largely different in how they behave and their life situation. And in my opinion, men are largely the same. They work, they're active, they enjoy games, and they may have changed a little bit. On average, there's probably more obese men today than there used to be. I think that's true of all of America, men and women. But there hasn't been a huge push to change men, because men are men. The main push, this progressive push, has largely been for the women. That's just a fact. So it seems like a lot of people don't want to recognize that. They don't want to recognize that the birth rate problem, people not getting in relationships. There's a lot of guys out there that have been following the Andrew Hubermans and the Andrew Tates that have got their shit together, as Bryan Johnson would say, or whatever his name is, that are still in the same situation, that are still just as frustrated. And they're doing these things. They're not depriving themselves of sleep. They're not addicted to gambling, addicted to porn, addicted to junk food. And they're in a similar situation. So the reason would be, or the next logical conclusion would be, okay, we've looked at men, and maybe there's some improvement there on a case-by-case basis. But let's look at the women. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for. It's not what I'm seeing. I don't know when we'll see it, if we ever will, but, that's the next thing. Let's address the women in the crowd. The 50% of the reason, that we aren't having kids anymore. Let's address the other half. We've addressed the men, let's address the women. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for. I hope it comes. And that's like, I'm always trying to find this balance. I was talking to my buddy today. Between being too realistic, being too red-pilled, and just realizing what's going on and wanting to fix it, versus the other side, which is focus on, my own situation and just don't get bogged down and try to fix it all. Don't focus too much on the systemic problem. This idea of I'm trying to say, you know what, maybe there are a lot of problems going on, but that's just how life is, and I got to focus on my own situation. I'm trying to find that balance, right? Because if you stay too much in the one camp, the red-pilled camp, the camp that's like, oh, everything's going to shit, and there's all these problems that we can't fix that are deeply rooted, and then maybe you make connections to it, and maybe it's the media, maybe it's the feminist movement, social media, stuff like that, right? That have corrupted women or whatever. I don't even want to say corrupted. That sounds really negative, right? But that have had a profoundly negative influence on young women, right? So maybe this is true. But if I focus too much on that, I lose all power. I say, oh, it's all this. And there's nothing I can do about it. Which, in reality, maybe that is the case. But there also, and it is the case, but there is stuff I can do. So maybe the path is rockier than before. The path is tougher, more treacherous than before, right? And maybe a lot of the women out there, maybe they are different, which they are. And maybe it is tougher to get in relationships with them. And then that's true, right? But if I just stay in this camp, maybe I'll be right. Maybe I'll be right, but I'll also be miserable, right? So it's like there's this balance of recognizing the problem, recognizing what's going on, but then despite all that, pushing through. And maybe this is unjust and this is wrong, but my job as a man is to find a way around it. New times, new problems, new solutions. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. You know, being a realist, recognizing what's going on. But what can we do as guys? And maybe part of that isn't just what can we do to improve our own situation and adapt and change, but maybe part of that is what can we do about the things that are causing this, the systems that are causing this, the lies, the influences that are causing this. What can we do about our own situation, and what can we do to fix this ginormous problem that's affected our whole culture, right? What can we do about the main problem? So, yeah, I think it's finding that balance and just not getting too in your head about it, man, because it can be dark, it can be depressing, you know. So, yeah, just something to think about.